What's going on, guys? Random weekly drop in. All right. It's Wednesday, the middle of the week. A lot of activity that's happened in the market, and I made a major move. We're going to talk about that in the chats with Ibrx and some of my Patreon members. There was some inquiries on should I trim, should I not trim. So I want to talk about the move that I made and the reasoning behind it, the strategy, the methodology, the thought process behind it all, and so forth. So, if anything, I think that investors on the Patreon will get value out of this video and understand how Goofy makes his moves and why and the reasoning behind all of this stuff. All right. So we got to start from the beginning. I have a little slide deck which I will attach to the video. All right. Earlier today, I posted that I had a limit order to sell call contracts, 40 contracts equating 4,000 derivative shares of IBRX, $2.50 strikes, going out to expiration of January 15th, 2027. All right. And I put the order in for to sell at $5.80. These contracts were bought for 91 cents, if I recall. It doesn't put it here, but they were 91 cents a share, and I sold for $5.80. So there that is. We're going to go over the reasoning, but in order to do that, we got to go to the beginning. All right, guys. So, in the beginning, from the start, from the get go, with the IBRX position, I opted for a hybrid position consisting of organic shares and call options. All right. So, with the actual analysis, and you could check on the first deep dive, and I pretty much explain a lot of the methodology and the thought process. But in to sum it all up, I assessed there was great risk with the balance sheet, cash burn, margins, derivatives, warrants, and dilutive pressures, all different types of stuff happening within the equity, which overshadowed the quant overshadowed the actual intangible. All right, so the tangible quant overshadowed the intangible, and investors, you have to have the gift of vision to be able to price a story, IP, so forth, and know how to negotiate these obstacles if you're willing to participate. So I opted, and to summarize this, I opted to override the tangible quant due to the intangible quant that I assessed. So whenever you have a override within your investment analysis of numbers and so forth, you have to even the scales, all right? Or you're going to get crushed in the long term, all right? Age and wisdom. Earlier today, someone ID'd me in a store earlier. So I'm 37. So, I mean, maybe I look a little bit younger, but don't be fooled. All right. Age and wisdom comes into play here. And that's one thing I want to talk about. If you're in your 20s, okay, you don't necessarily need to do this stuff. All right. I'm 37. I'm a little bit older. I don't have as much time as a 20-year-old to catch up on mistakes. Believe me, I got my fair share of mistakes and, going through this whole process, and I've learned from it. And this is a combination of, you know, mitigating risk and so forth. So, with that, overriding the tangible due to the intangible quant, in order to balance these scales, I opted for a hybrid position. So 6,000, and that hybrid position consists of 6,000 organic shares and 40 call contracts, which represent 4,000 shares, equating to 10,000 shares of either a combination of organic and controlled contracted shares. All right. Here are the prices right here you see before you. So here's the total cost of the IBRX position, $17,371.76. That includes my organic shares, which I still hold, and my call options cost $3,626.56. All right. These options were meant to be sold and not exercised. Before you ever go into an actual options position, you need to consider have a premeditated plan with the intent to either exercise or sell the actual options themselves. All right. Exercise means you will buy the shares. If you bought calls, you exercise them, you will buy the shares, and you will convert those options into actual real shares. All right. But the actual selling of the options is another option, no pun intended, within, to where you can sell those contracts. All right. And they garner premium as well because there is a time premium assigned to those contracts. All right. So, what was the purpose of the investment? What was the purpose of the hybrid position investment? It was to de risk the investment due to the balance sheet. All right. Easy come, easy go. You're a hero one day and then you're zero the next. That's how crazy bad balance sheets can make things. All right. So there's that. All right. This balance sheet had the derivatives, the warrants, etc. Most of the debt on their balance sheet are actual dilutive instruments. All right, with convertible notes. So there's that to consider. Let's talk about this actual IBRX stock options position and how it entailed. So in December 29th, I purchased the call contracts. I purchased the stock options for $3,626.56. On February 8th, I sold for $23,173.05. All right. This is in keeping with the traditions of this channel. This is a results oriented business, guys. All right. So, um, here's the actual numbers all calculated. Profits equated to $19,546.49. This overlaps the actual total hybrid position cost. So there's about a couple thousand dollars to spare above that cost, which is organic profits. All right. And these profits, the money that was used to build this hybrid position was created from profits from SEMrush, from when I got bought out from Adobe. All right. So the length of time of the investment for these stock options was 51 days, and the multi bag was 6.38x. All right. So we 6.38x $3,626 in 51 days. Not too shabby. All right. But this goes back to it, guys. All right. Everything is premeditated, it's methodical. Um, and this is how you're going to be able to know when to trim, when not to trim. You can ask my captains. I do not like to trim my shares. All right. So if I have the intent to trim or take chips off the table and I don't want it to affect my organic main position, there it is. You can have more options. All right. So this is where options comes in. Don't ever mistake in this. Options are not the primary mode strategy of investment, at least for me. Okay. Organic shares, holding of the organic shares is really the key to long term investing, not options. All right. Options are just a tool to have in your toolkit as an investor if you need to stretch time and space and you need to exacerbate profits and gains real fast. All right. So there's that to consider. All right. So here's the portfolio right now. There's my IBRX shares. There's still 6,000. So for all extensive purposes, this 50 G's is on the house. All right. This 50 G's of profit right here, it's all house money. All right. So the original investment and then some has been taken back out. All right. I can play this a couple ways. All right. But going back to it, all right. How do you know when to trim, when to sell, and so forth? Everything's quantifiable and needs to have purpose. And that equals what's meaningful. All right. The quant versus the purpose equals meaningful. What's meaningful? All right. The quant was $17,371 and change. All right. The purpose was to de-risk. What's the number to be meaningful to de-risk? $17,371. Okay. What is the purpose of the de-risk? Your assessment and analysis of overriding the quant where you got some high risk stuff happening. All right. There's a bunch of derivatives in this equity. Hell, I wouldn't even enter the position without derivatives myself. I held derivatives, okay? Those stock options, all right? So there's that to consider. All right. Um Now taking chips off the table, you guys are going to have to determine your quant purpose and what equals to be meaningful for whatever reason. All right. And that's an individual investor's ability and skill. You see, it has nothing, it doesn't have much to do with the stock price. Okay. Because I got IBRX going into double digits. I could have held those options. Okay. I could have held those options going up into the double digits. But you have to stick to your principles. Okay. Of what is the actual, what is the pregame? What is the purpose? What's the plan? And you have to stick to your plan. Okay. So, and that includes your risk tolerances and so forth. I said that, you know what? I think I want to take some chips off the table. That's what I have these options for. It covered the positions and so forth. All right. So, what am I going to do with the actual capital and how am I going to play this? All right. Well, I guess that's the problem I have right now. So, before I created this after I created this option or this hybrid position investment in IBRX, I had to buy a new car, which is unrelated to whatever the investment thesis is. So I'm going to have to juggle that part within the actual investment journey. All right. So one way I can do this is I can reinvest the 23,000. You can see it pending right here in the portfolio. All right. $23,173.05. I can reinvest that from the original gains that were taken a few months ago. That's 17,000 and change of profits from SEMrush that were invested into IBRX, and then 57 days. 51 days later. I've got the chips off the table and got the capital out. So I can reinvest this money. I could build a totally new position. I could put it into Sentinel One, or I can use that 23,000 to be accretive to the car. Okay, so there's a lot of ways I can play it. Um, I still have to do, I have to file taxes. I have to see how much is owed on capital gains and so forth. So there's still some quant that is still has a question mark that I have to find out first before I reallocate capital appropriately. So that's how you do this, guys. This is how I think about things and how I strategize these positions. All right. Um, you guys don't always have to have not every play is going to have a hybrid derivative position like IBRX. In fact, it's really the exception of the norm. Okay. It's not the norm. All right. Typically, I buy organic shares and I just hold them. All right. But IBRX was one of those spots where I had to do something fancy to make this work. All right. And it worked out. It worked out well. All right. So I'm happy for that. So I hope you guys got some value out of this video. I hope that put some clarity on, how I think about things, and maybe that should coach you guys and give you more insights on when is it time to trim, when is it time to do what you got to do as investors. Comment down below if you want me to start doing more deeper analysis on this type of ideology and like a hidden gem or so forth. Comment down below, and then I can do that. All right. What's going to happen with IBRX going forward? um well, quite frankly, the question was asked, uh was the EU acceptance of Anktiva priced into the equity? It was. However, the actual short float was not priced in, so the equity is 40% short. So those profits that those short sellers took, that they borrowed someone else's shares in attempt to take the future profits by borrowing, that has to be paid for somewhere. And that's exactly what's happening right here, guys. All right. So, and the pricing of their IP and tech at their market cap right now, I know Seeking Alpha has it at 5.93 billion, but give me 1 second. I'll look at their actual market cap right now. Let me see. 8.41 billion is what the market cap is right now. Rely, I will be digesting the earnings. I haven't completely digested that. I'm probably gonna do that this weekend. Now, IBRX, or I'm sorry, Rely, they smashed on earnings, so stock will go up. All right, they smashed the earnings. I think 20%. It's going to be more than I believe it. We'll see what happens. I have to digest all the earnings to make an assessment of where the stock is going to land, but that'll be soon to come later. All right. So I appreciate all of y'all. I hope you got some value out of this video. Thank you all.